is in sexual misconduct, who speaks falsely, speaks divisively, speaks harshly, chatters idly, one who is covetous, full of ill will and holds wrong view. Even though a great crowd of people would come together and assemble around him and pray and chant and ask him to go to heaven, still with the breakup of the body after death, that person will be reborn in a state of misery, in a bad destination, in the netherworld, in hell. Stop here for a moment. So here it's only logical if a person does something, does all kinds of evil, that when he dies, that he will go to a woeful destination of rebirth. If after doing a lot of evil, he still goes to a good destination of rebirth, then there must be something wrong with the world. And the Buddha said, what do you think, head man? Suppose there is a person here who abstains from the destruction of life, from taking what is not given, from sexual misconduct, from false speech, from divisive speech, from harsh speech, from idle chatter, one who is not covetous, without ill will, who holds right view. Then a great crowd of people would come together and assemble around him, and they would send up prayers and recite praise and circumambulate him, making reverential salutations, saying, with the breakup of the body after death, may this person be reborn in a state of misery, in a bad destination, in the netherworld, in hell. What do you think, head man? Because of the prayers of the great crowd of people, because of their praise, because they circumambulate him, making reverential salutations, with that person, with the breakup of the body after death, be reborn in a state of misery in hell. And he said, no, Venerable Sir. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, suppose there is a very good person who does not do any evil at all. So then when he has died, a big crowd of people come and pray and chant and curse him, ask him to go to hell. Is it possible that he will go to hell? And the headman said, it's not logical, and that he, being a good man, can go to hell. And then the Buddha continued, suppose, headman, a man submerges a pot of ghee or a pot of oil in a deep pool of water and breaks it. Any of its shards or fragments there would sink downwards, but the ghee or oil would rise upwards. Then a great crowd of people would come together and assemble around it, and they would send up prayers and recite praise and circumambulate it, making reverential salutations, saying, sink down, good ghee or oil, settle, good ghee or oil, go downwards, good ghee or oil. What do you think, head man? Because of the prayers of the great crowd of people, because of their praise, because they circumambulated, making reverential salutations, would that ghee or oil sink down or settle or go downwards? No, Venerable Sir. So too, head man, if a person is one who abstains from the destruction of life, etc., even though a great crowd of people would come together and assemble around him, still and curse him to go to hell, even with the still with the breakup of the body after death, that person will be reborn in a good destination, in a heavenly world. When this was said, Asi Bandaka Putta, the head man, said to the Blessed One, magnificent Venerable Sir, magnificent Venerable Sir. And then he took refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Bhikkhu Sangha. From today, let the Blessed One remember me as a lay follower who has gone for refuge for life. That's the end of the sutta. This is a sutta that teaches a very important principle. This man is asking whether the Buddha can help us go to heaven or not. So instead of directly saying no, the Buddha is saying, giving this simile. If a rock is heavy, you throw it into a pond, it will sink naturally. In spite of what you shout, you pray and all that, you cannot stop the rock from sinking because it is heavy. On the other hand, if you throw a pot of ghee or oil in the middle of the pond, so suppose in the middle of the pond there happens to be a rock there, and you throw it and the pot breaks. So the pot will sink, but even though the pot sinks, the ghee or the oil would float up. So when you curse the ghee and oil, ask it to sink down, it cannot sink down because it's lighter than water, you will float up. So in the same way, the Buddha is telling us very clearly that it is our karma that decides our rebirth. If we have heavy evil karma, that heavy evil karma will drag us down to the woeful plains of rebirth. No matter how other people pray, it doesn't help at all. On the other hand, if the person is a very good person, a virtuous person, his good karma will pull him up and he'll go for a good rebirth, no matter how people curse him. So nobody can influence another person's rebirth. It is entirely due to his karma. So you see, like in our this Chinese Buddhism, they like to do a lot of chanting and all that, Chiu To, Chao Tu and all that. According to this type of sutta, it's of no effect at all. It's your karma that decides where you're reborn. That's why it's important to study these earlier suttas, because nowadays there's a lot of wrong views around. 42.7. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Nalanda in Pavarika's mango grove. Then Asibandaka Putta, the head man, approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side and said to him, "Venerable Sir, doesn't the Blessed One dwell compassionate towards all living beings?" And the Buddha said, "Yes, head man, the Tathagata dwells compassionate towards all living beings." And he asked, "Then why is it, Venerable Sir, that the Blessed One teaches the Dhamma thoroughly to some, yet not so thoroughly to others?" Stop here for a moment. So this headman is saying, if the Buddha, you are compassionate towards all beings, why you discriminate? To some people you teach a lot of Dhamma, to some people you teach so little Dhamma. And the Buddha said, "Well then, headman, I will question you about this. Answer as you see fit. What do you think, headman? Suppose a farmer here had 3 fields, one excellent field, one of middling quality, and one inferior, rough, salty, with bad ground. What do you think, headman? If that farmer wishes to sow seeds, where would he sow it first? In the excellent field, in the field of middling quality, or in the field that was inferior, the one that was rough, salty, and with bad ground?" And the headman said, "If, Venerable Sir, that farmer wishes to sow seed, he would sow it in the excellent field. Having sown seed there, he would next sow seed in the field of middling quality. Having sown seed there, he might or might not sow seed in the field that was inferior, the one that was rough, salty, with bad ground. For what reason? Because at least it can be used as fodder for the cattle." Stop here for a moment. So if a farmer wishes to sow his seeds so that it can sprout, of course naturally he would sow it in the most fertile field, the best field. Then if he has some more left over, he would sow it in the second quality one, the middling quality one. Then if he still has some more left over, either he might sow it in that inferior ground, or he might not sow it. If he doesn't sow it on the inferior ground, at least he can feed the cattle with the seed. Because if he sows it on the inferior ground, it may be a waste of time. It may not sprout at all. Then the Buddha said, "Headman, just like the field that is excellent are the monks and nuns to me. I teach them the Dhamma that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, with the right meaning and phrasing. I reveal the holy life that is perfectly complete and pure. For what reason? Because they dwell with me as their island, with me as their shelter, with me as their protector, with me as their refuge." Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is saying that the monks and the nuns are the best field for him to sow the seeds of Dhamma. because they are committed. Monks and nuns are committed to lead the holy life. However tough it is, they are willing to struggle, to give up a lot of things, to give up their attachments and all that, because they understand the value of the Dhamma. That being the case, the Buddha will teach them the most Dhamma. Also here, you see the Buddha says, I reveal the holy life that is perfectly complete and pure. So the Buddha's teaching of the holy life is perfectly complete and pure. It is complete. There is no reason to add to it. As I mentioned before, later monks, they try to add to the Buddha's words by making the commentaries, by making the Abhidhamma, by making the Mahayana Sutras, and all that, which is not necessary. Those are what the Chinese call the fang pian, expedient, provisional means, which is not necessary at all, because the Buddha's original teachings in the Nikayas are complete and pure. There's no need to add to it, and no need to subtract from it. Then headmen, just like the field of middling quality, are the male and female lay followers to me. To them too I teach the Dhamma that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, with the right meaning and phrasing. I reveal the holy life that is perfectly complete and pure. For what reason? Because they dwell with me as their island, with me as their shelter, with me as their protector, with me as their refuge. Then headmen, just like that field that is inferior, rough, salty, with background, are the ascetics, Brahmins, and wanderers of other sects to me. Yet to them too I teach the Dhamma that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, with the right meaning and phrasing. I reveal the holy life that is perfectly complete and pure. For what reason? Because if they understand even a single sentence, that will lead to their welfare and happiness for a long time. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha compares these three groups of people with the three fields. The monks, the Buddhist monks and nuns are the most excellent field where the Buddha will teach the most. Then the second is the lay supporters, the male and female lay followers. Since they also take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, the Buddha also teaches to them. But because they have less time, so the Buddha also teach them less. Then thirdly, the ascetics and Brahmins, those that are willing to listen, the Buddha will teach them. Not all of them will want to listen. Those that are willing to listen, the Buddha will teach, hoping that at least they will understand a bit. And some of them, after understanding a bit of the Dhamma, they convert and become disciples of the Buddha. Suppose headman, a man had 3 water pots, one without cracks, which does not let water seep through and escape, one without cracks, but which lets water seep through and escape, and one with cracks, which lets water seep through and escape. What do you think, headman? If that man wants to store water, where would he store it first? In the water pot that is without cracks, which does not let water seep through and escape, or in the water pot that is without cracks, but which lets water seep through and escape, or in the water pot that has cracks and which lets water seep through and escape. And he said, if, Venerable Sir, that man wants to store water, he would store it in the water pot that is without cracks, which does not let water seep through and escape. Having stored water there, he would next store it in the water pot that is without cracks, but which lets water seep through and escape. Having stored it there, he might or might not store it in the water pot that has cracks, which lets water seep through and escape. For what reason? Because it can at least be used for washing dishes. Stop here for a moment. So if the man has these 3 types of pots, of course, first he will store it in the best water pot where it does not leak, so that the water will be kept useful whenever he wants to use it. Then if he still has a lot of water left, he will store it in the second best water pot, which although is not cracked, but allows some water to seep through. And then the third water pot, which has cracks, probably best not to keep it there.